This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our Patreon and PayPal sponsorship options. To learn more, visit macvoices.com/support. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 2 in a multi-part MacVoices Live panel discussion about the Apple High Speed event. In the first part, we talked about the HomePod Mini and where its place is in the product line, what the problems it solves and the needs it addresses, and get some surprising responses from some of the panelists. This time around, we start a discussion of the iPhones 12, all of them, all the models, and the features that they bring with them. So we'll get right back to the panel. Let's move on to the big news though, the iPhone 12, because it seemed like there's now an iPhone for everyone. That at a whole lot of different price points and with a whole lot of different capabilities. So I know there's some pretty strong feelings around the table here about what size. And Frederick, since you're the latecomer here, what you get started with this one? What did you take away from the iPhone 12 announcements?
The big thing I took away from it was I think it's 2-axis image stabilization on the camera features. So the biggest thing for me was the camera updates. Obviously, I'm a photographer, so seeing both from an image quality standpoint and then also from just a geeky standpoint of computational photography and what they're doing on that side with the dedicated chip processing and all that. And so I'm interested in that just from a pure technological side. From a pure sort of aesthetic side, I always liked that sort of flat edged look of that. What was it, iPhone 5 that had that look?
It was the 4, yeah.
Was it the 4
and the 5?
I always liked that. Yeah, I thought that was the best design. I was sad when they went away from that. It just felt good. The edges fit your hand every time, right? So they sold me on that. And then, of course, the photographer side is the camera piece of it. Everything else in the middle is kind of, it's great, but camera and the styling are what sold me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Is the Pro for that? I mean, is the Pro for people who always have to have the best, or for photographers and videographers? Because I'm watching it and I'm like, if I took pictures, if I did all that, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, it's really not for me. Although I think I said on the thing I was talking about earlier, I'm looking forward to the iPhone 13 having a bunch of stuff that's in the iPhone 12 Pro or Pro Max being in the 13, but none of it is the thing that I'm going to go Pro for. I mean, do we say Pro so we can either get the videographers and the photographers, or the people who are like, well, I have to have the best, so here's $1,000. Or
is that for me? I can take a shot at that. I think the big answer to that is a big question mark. But if you look at it from the audience for my podcast, they are very much those people, Ken, that want the best of the best, and it's a camera, so of course I have to have it. But the other side of that coin is we fool ourselves into thinking that, look at that, it's raw and video, I'm going to use that for production work. And very rarely does anyone use it for production work. It's just nice to know that you have the horsepower if you wanted to, even though you'll never probably use it on anything more than taking pictures of your food or something like that. So, for me, I could very well be just as fine with a lower spec iPhone than I have right now. Probably wouldn't change my world much at all, except I know I have a lower spec iPhone. I want to be able to have it that 1.01% of the time that I need that one little feature. I want it there.
But Frederick, are you seeing in the photography world are more people starting to use it as production? Because you always hear that all the time, where videographers are using it for their TV production or movie production. They're seeing that. Are you starting to see much of that or no?
I don't know. No, I'm not seeing a lot of that, but I'm not, a sample size of the entire industry, but in my little circles, I don't see a lot of people using the capabilities are fantastic, but I see it more as people are experimenting with it and saying, hey, well, I could probably do that in the future. Okay, let me go back to my real camera, and do the job. And then playing, it's kind of at that gray area of, it's, it might be there, but I'm not going to trust it with commercial work yet. But and then the stuff we do is, I think a lot of it is the content is purpose built to demonstrate the capabilities of the device versus storytelling. Like, hey, look at this film I built with the iPhone. It's amazing. And the whole idea of it was to build it with the iPhone versus to create something that it didn't matter what device you use. It just happened to be the iPhone. So,
well, there is.
Here.
Really quickly,
Sorry,
because
go
I
ahead.
want you.
Sorry,
Isn't it Soderbergh? I think who's shooting exclusively on iPhone now. He's like he shot one of his movies, one of his like major,
Oh.
but
Yeah.
that's not. I mean, that's not everybody. I mean, he.
No.
top of the pyramid. Right?
Yeah,
Also
well,
David
exactly.
Soderbergh.
Soderbergh.
Yeah.
Is it Soderbergh? It is him,
Soderbergh,
right?
I think it's Soderbergh.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Like-
yes, I believe a couple of years ago or a few years ago, he was like, "Yeah, I'm done shooting with anything but that," because it gave him the versatility to, be able to move. No, that's not to say he doesn't still have a lighting crew and everything else
That's
that
the
you would
other
have.
thing.
But I mean, honestly, normally I watch these videos and I'm amazed by the technology, and I'm also kind of sad that I'm not the guy in those videos. Because they have the people who are like, yeah, I'm on my way to this thing, then I got to go here and set up dinner for these people. I'm like, yes, man, I'm maybe going to say, hey, put Chuck's show on my calendar for next week, right?
Yeah.
There was an inspirational moment where they said, whoever the cinematographer was that they had shooting with it, saying that he likes to think that tomorrow's filmmakers are using this today. And I love that possibility. Not that you are going to replace everything that you have, but a 14-year-old kid isn't going to look at it as, wow, this is just like a professional movie. He's going to look at it and say, wow, I can tell my story with this.
Mhm.
And it's going to look like a professional
What I
movie.
have, and this is, I mean, it's the same sort of thing as you hear lots of people who are filmmakers today talk about, like, my parents had a Super 8 camera, or now I guess people are probably old enough, like the giant VCR / video
The VHS,
camcorder that was like the first
camcorders.
thing that you could like huff around on your shoulder.
A rocket
and like
launcher.
made videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, made
I had
videos
one.
that way. Like people are going to use the device, the whatever it is that's available to them. And if it's, my mom's old iPhone 10 is how I made this movie because it was the camera I had. Like, I feel like it's really just upping the production value of that kind of stuff. Like the thing that came to mind, that moment can stuck with me too, because what it reminded me of was finding out that Billie Eilish won Grammys with a record that she recorded in her bedroom with a laptop and my travel microphone, the one that I take with me places, exactly the same microphone. And that's the thing that I think about, is that it's really just democratizing creativity to give that to people and let them and let people go wild. It's the potential of it, like you said, for people who are coming up now. Frederick, to your point, I know some professional image people, some people who work with video, and some people who work with like still photography, who really appreciate the iPhone piece for like prototyping almost. Like, let me take a couple pictures or let me shoot some video and see how it, and get a feel for it from here. And it's a very easy way to sort of test run, like, is my lighting crap? How is my sound? All these different things that you can do and make that, and then, like, it saves you a bunch of time having to like rejigger all the actual equipment once you're actually, in it to win it. So I know a few people who are doing that, and even just that potential. I don't think I know anybody who is relying on it for any particular reason. Like, this is the camera I shoot portraits with now, or whatever. But I do.
May be a matter of time.
I don't think that's far behind. I always upgrade for the camera because I dabble at best in photography. I I do not fancy myself a photographer in any way, but I live in a place when we could go places that it is very photogenic, and I like to go take the opportunity to show people that. And back when I used to go places, the thing that blew me away when I have an 11 Pro now, and the thing that blew me away about it was not long after I got it, because I got it in like the first week of November or something. It was December, and we were looking at Christmas lights, and I could stand and take a photo of the Christmas lights with my phone and it would come out and it would look like what I was seeing in my, like what I saw in my eyeballs and what I saw on my phone were the same. And that was the first time that had ever happened, was with the 11 Pro. And I still cannot get over the pictures I can take with this camera. So I'm very sad that most of my experience with it has just sort of been around my house and my backyard, because that's the only places I really go now. But like I don't think that it's going to be long before people who are sort of prototyping shots with an iPhone are going to stop. In some cases, are going to not set up the rest of that, actual gear to do their work. I think they're going to be able to do it with the device.
Yeah.
So 2 points I would like to make here. First of all, the video on my phone is now my video camera. I have no other video camera, because no other video, a typical video camera, the only thing it possibly can do is have a zoom on it that, is nice to have, but most of the things I want to record, I'm really not doing a zoom on. So that's point one. Point two, as much as we're talking, and I definitely want to get to the lower end models, because I think those are a lot more approachable price wise. But one of the things that keeps attracting me to the higher end is that these things are with me all the time. I get one chance to take the video of whatever's in front of me. I can't go home and say, oh, I'm going to get my better camera or my DSLR or my video camera. It's happening right there in front of me. So I feel like since there's that one opportunity, I'm going to want to have the best camera I can have, because those moments happen it seems like all the time, and you don't really think about it. You don't prepare for them. They're just there. And that's one of the reasons it drags me to the top end of the scale. Sure. The trillions of processing, trillions of calculations are impressive, and I like the idea of that hanging out in my pocket. But it's the usability that really, really strikes me. That as for that reason, if you have kids playing soccer, if you have a kid's birthday party is not a good example, because you might be prepared for that. The soccer game, you might be sort of prepared for it, but you may not. So I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
I would interject here that looking at the product line, today there were 4 new iPhones, introduced. One of them was a smaller screen factor, so that's clearly targeting people who cherish that size device. 2 were sort of those 6.1, and then the iPad Pro Max was what, 6.7 or 6.8?
6.7.
Did you mean to call it iPad Pro Max, or were you joking?
Oh, I'm looking at my iPad.
He's looking at his iPad. I knew that.
I'm looking at my iPad Pro at my notes, but sorry. So,
no,
you have notes.
iPhone. Yeah. Okay. Correct. Yeah, correction.
He took notes. I don't have notes.
Andrew
notes.
over at Daily Observations, Andrew Orr today called the Pro Max the iPhone, or the iPad Mini, which I thought was terribly cool.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. So whatever. But the thing is, just think about it from a product line perspective. And this pertains to photography. So I know a lot. I've spent probably 7 or 8 years over the past 15 years marketing storage devices and other services to photographers. And the beauty of having, if you only have one product, you're screwed, because everyone knows it's the manufacturer, one size fits all. They're going to jam you into something, and it's probably not right for me, but maybe somebody else. If you have 3 products at 3 different price points, sort of the psychology of what happens is everyone discards the lowest price point, because, oh no, that's just not me. And then they make a rational decision between the middle and high end. Their ego wants them to have the high end, and depending on price, maybe they buy the high end, or maybe they buy the middle end product. So I think that goes back to the point Fred was making about a lot of his listeners. And again, it seems to me that photography is so visceral and emotional that Apple is deliberately marketing and tugging at our heartstrings. And to Ken's point, we all wish we would do that. I felt the same way looking at this, and I'm looking at it and thinking, well, this is really cool, but I don't do any of those things. Well, hardly any. Maybe 3% or something. But this is a really cool phone. So they're putting it out there to take advantage. I think there's this old Arab proverb, that which is admired is desired. So they're out there just creating lust so that people who have the financial means will buy something. It's probably many many dimensions, way more than they need, but they want it and it's cool and they can show it off to everybody. So
an amount of that though that also comes from people don't always get phones every year anymore. Like some people are on the lease program or whatever it is that's like every year I just hand over my phone and get a new phone. Yeah. So some people are on that. And so some people will do that because they're just sort of paying. They've decided like, I'm just going to pay every month to have the latest, greatest phone forever. And that's what I do now. And some people don't. So I know at least one person who's upgrading from an iPhone 7 Plus. I think I know another person who has I think what they have is a 7 who is also going to be upgrading to the 12. And I think, people who get this aren't, if we keep on this new model, new number every year naming convention, these are people who are going to get a 12 and not be interested until we have like a 17, a 16 or a 17, to look at and start looking at maybe it's time to upgrade my phone. So I think part of, kind of jamming all this into one is like making it worth the upgrade in the first place and sort of justifying, that it's a 4-digit price for one of for the larger ones, for the pro models. But then also like making it something that is going to continue to be relevant for people 3 years from now or 5 years from now, or, even longer, depending, on what upgrade cycles actually start looking like. Because in real life, a lot of people could go buy an iPhone 12 and be super duper happy with it and not notice anything until that person,
until
me and their family
out in 2 hours.
Until the me of their family who does tech support for everyone says, you need to know that a new version of iOS that you upgrade to every year, it won't run on your phone. And we need to talk about getting you a new one.
Right.
Like there are some people on where that's the upgrade cycle for them is somebody says it doesn't do the things you want to do anymore, like on a fundamental level. And so now you need a new phone. Let's have that conversation. And for those folks, like, I think part of doing kind of, all of this at once sort of a thing with all the camera stuff, all the core stuff, all the calculation stuff. I think part of that is this is somebody's 3, 4, 5, 6 year companion. And that's, and so it needs to be something that's going to continue to work for them at that level, aside from just pro. I mean, part of why I got the pro, like I said, for the camera, but also because I knew it was going to have horsepower and I'm going to have this phone for a while. So it wasn't really a question, it wasn't necessarily that I wanted the latest and greatest. It was that I wanted the biggest thing I could reasonably afford, like the most horsepower, so that it will last me the longest.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our Patreon and PayPal sponsorship options. To learn more, visit macvoices.com/support. If you get value from MacVoices, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/MacVoices. You get access to the MacVoices Thinking Posts, exclusive Patreon-only video chats, as well as having your name in the credits of each MacVoices show for the months you support. Having you as a MacVoices patron helps us pay the bills and keep building and improving MacVoices. Or, if one-time support is more your speed, use our PayPal option. You too will get your name in the show notes of every MacVoices episode for the month you contribute. Or you can support the show by writing a review in iTunes or buying through our affiliate links. Neither of these costs you anything, but they help MacVoices a great deal. Again, macvoices.com/support. Thanks to everyone who contributes to keep MacVoices firing on all cylinders.
You just talked about the upgrade program. I've been on the upgrade program probably since its inception, probably 3-4 years now. So I've been upgrading every year. I've been just addicted to the large size iPhone. I started with the 6 Plus. I mean, that was an most exciting time when the 6 Plus came out. That was the largest that was available, the big screen. I was like, I'm not going back. So I've had every single one since. So 7, 8, 9.
That's because it
7,
fits
8.
in your pants. No, I'm
Yeah,
not
well,
mad
it
about
does.
at
But so one of the reasons why I will definitely be going with the 12 Pro Max is because of the size. But the camera in itself appeals to me as well, because I have the 11 Pro Max right now. The camera on this one is amazing as well. So I mean, it's
so good.
and Frederick and I have talked about that before on my podcast, and it just the camera just continues to just be a progressive, amazing thing to have. And like on Chuck's point, that's his full-time video camera now. It's spontaneous. You have it with you all the time. The cameras are just continually getting better and better. Yeah, it is nice to have the longer lenses. I mean, and as you as being a photographer, as well. I have a DSLR. It's been sitting in my closet for I don't remember how long. It's the last time I've touched it. But it's got a bigger lens, 200 millimeters. But there's photographers with their 300, 400, 700 that do take in a lot of photography that they want to be able to take, like action sports and that stuff. Yeah, this is not going to be for them. But for good everyday usage for the type of photography you're looking to do, and then add LiDAR into that, add the RAW into that, adding all these other things. I mean, my eyes lit up when they said Apple RAW. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, this is going to be something just absolutely phenomenal. And then the LiDAR, and then having the night mode across the entire line. I mean, that's awesome in itself. You can buy a 12 or a 12 mini, and you're going to have the night mode in there, because the night mode is amazing. I mean, and that's what appealed to me when I went to the Pro, right off the bat from when I was on the 10. So it just continues to evolve, and it's like you said, Ken, too, with it's all affordability. What you can afford, what's going to be in your market as far as what you can afford of this particular iPhone. If it's not something that's in your boat, then yeah, I mean the iPhone SE is a very good iPhone, and that's much more affordable. It's all based on what we can afford, but as well as our passions too.
I do like
I'm sorry, Chuck. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say really quickly, I do like the fact that they're not making you choose based on functionality. I mean, like if I want a lower priced phone because I can't afford a bigger phone, then okay, I get the same functionality as the bigger one. Or if I want the smaller phone because I want a smaller one, I'm not sacrificing anything. Now, obviously, if you go to the iPhone SE, that's not true. I was really glad that all of the rumors were borne out, and they're all 5G. You're not deciding whether or not you're going to want 5G at some point. You don't even have to have 5G. It's fine. The next phone will have 5G if you want it. It won't if you don't. I mean, it will. It won't matter to you.
Doesn't work yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was really a fantastic thing to see come across as well.
No, 5G is great. And that's another topic we probably should start too, because that was a big thing at this event.
I want to make sure that Jeff Gamet's asleep up there, and I want to make sure.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Jeff.
Yeah, I've been loving listening to everyone.
Oh, okay. I'm a little worried.
I yelled about
Jeff.
pants and woke you up. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, pants. Wait, what again?
Yeah.
All right. So here's my take. I'm with Ken. Apple did an awesome job of creating an iPhone line where you don't have to sacrifice to get the phone that you want. And then, like, honestly, when Apple showed off the iPhone 12, by the time they were done with that, I thought, okay, this is the phone that I need as my upgrade from an iPhone 10, because AT&T broke me out of the upgrade plan because the timing when the 10 came out and then the 10s came out. So I mean, I was sold right there. And then they showed the Pro line. And I thought, okay, well, considering I know that I'm done with the upgrade program, that means that I'm going to get an iPhone that I'm going to hold on to for at least 3 years. Therefore, I should buy as much phone as I can now, just like I do when I buy a new Mac. I buy as much Mac as I can, knowing that I'm going to have it for several years. Therefore, iPhone Pro 12. And the Max is too big for my hand. But Apple made it easy for me to make those decisions because I'm not sacrificing any other features. Getting the cameras, that's the cool thing for me with the 12 Pro, because this has become my only camera. And I've been very happy with an iPhone 10 as my only camera for photos and videos. So this will be a very nice photography and video upgrade for me. And knowing full well that professional photographers will be like, seriously, this isn't a real camera. But hey, that, like they say, the best camera is the one you have with you. And this one will give me a lot of flexibility.
Well, you could be taking pictures with your iPad though too. That's another camera with you. So
Don't.
Yeah, just no.
Frederick, just I wish everybody could have been seeing Frederick's face at that moment, because it just looked like he'd been into a lemon. It's like,
I've seen that. I've seen that in front of the Eiffel Tower, no less.
I've seen that.
iPads.
Oh, I see it everywhere. Yeah.
it's painful.
Frederick, I'm with you on that. Just
Oh.
no.
So
You know, one thing you guys we should consider that I think about a lot when that devil is on my shoulder telling me that, yeah, you should just buy as much iPhone as you can. It's okay. You know, I often think about from a just a technological standpoint, if the large camera manufacturers are watching what Apple is doing, because it seems, you know, as someone who owns, you know, full frame mirrorless cameras and micro four thirds cameras and all that, going back and forth between an iOS powered device with a camera on it that in some ways makes superior images to that one, and then going back to a quote real camera, it feels like moving back and forth through, you know, a time machine, because the OS on the cameras is so MS-DOS feeling, where you come on iPhone, it feels like a polished ecosystem with an app store that's robust and, you know, power and computational photography and LiDAR and all that stuff. And then I go back to my other camera that shoots out an infrared beam so I can try to focus on it and then, you know, take the picture. I wonder if these big camera manufacturers aren't a little afraid, because if Apple has stacked this IP with this LiDAR technology and a robust app store and retail outlets and on and on and on, it seems to me that, you know, Apple could easily create something that's competitive on the ultra high end, you know, versus going after the middle with the iPhone. And if they did, they could decimate that already limping industry. I wonder if they worry about Apple, you know, generating a next generation pro camera, because if they did, I would buy it. I'd be the first one to buy it.
Yeah, you just gotta wait for everybody who's using those now to die. I mean, that's really it. I mean, I'm not kidding. There's no point in going after that.
Wow.
Well, you're right. No, but I mean, there's no point in going after that market, because that market, as you said, is a market that's already moribund, right? So every kid who's walking around right now with one of these phones is never going to even learn about those kinds of cameras or know about them. You're going to have snobs. I haven't told this story in a long time. I don't know if I've told it here or not. The production house where I used to work in San Francisco, they clients loved coming into the Pro Tools suite. And they would sit there and they would record and they would pay top dollar for that. And when they left, I would export that audio. I would go to a Windows machine and I would edit it on Adobe Audition. That was not my idea. That was not my plan. I wasn't charging for it. I use what I know how to use. Mm-hmm. They paid for what they wanted to see. Mm-hmm. 50 years from now, those cameras are going to be great, and you're going to find them in junk stores. And they won't be junk. You'll be paying top dollar for them. But 50 years from now, they're not a thing anymore, I don't think. Yeah. Except for I still have a friend who shoots with a Brownie because he loves shooting with a Brownie, right?
Yeah.
I have another friend who shoots with, I can't even remember what she uses. I know friends who are in photography who like using old tools, but they're always going to be the enthusiasts. And for Apple, shooting on film as well. And for Apple to go after that market, there's no return in it for them unless they just want to make everybody feel bad. Well, I mean, which might be fun.
They're taking a completely different road and letting that road run into a brick wall while they continue to innovate.
Or, that road's going to fall into disrepair, and other people are going to keep driving on the. They're not using the frontage road; they're using the highway. Ooh,
I see. I see two paths here. There's the camera path that will apply to nearly everyone. And then there'll be the camera path where people need to have specialized lenses. And there will be a convergence in there somewhere, but that's what I see.
Yeah.
Frederick, do I remember a product that connected through, I guess, what was then the Lightning port, and went out to a high quality lens?
There's been several. Yeah, there's been several. There's been a couple that I call it Frankensteining the iPad, right? And
yes,
or Borging the iPad or the iPhone, and adding all these different pieces on it to make it something that it wasn't before. Yeah, there's been several that did that. One was from God, I can't think of the name of the company. DxO. Remember, it was DxO.
Yes,
Oh,
you're
They
right.
had
That's-
that. It
that's what I was
popped
thinking.
out the little lightning port, and
Yeah.
you stuck it on your camera, would run the app, and suddenly you had a better camera. They failed because it was adding friction to something that would give you marginal return in the end. Like, okay, I got to find this thing, take a picture when the iPhone camera is at least as good or better. So that thing went away. So yeah, who knows? Who knows what's coming next?
Our all-star panel will be back one more time in the third and final part of our MacVoices live discussion about Apple's high-speed event. We continue talking about the iPhone 12, touch on 5G, the providers, the seeming inconsistency in pricing depending on which provider you are buying it with or through, and how maybe to save yourself a little money and still retain all the capabilities that you want, and a whole lot more about the iPhone's 12. That's next time on MacVoices. Please join us. Until then, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.